Hi everyone, welcome to this video. I've got a special guest on today, Tomas George, who is a music producer, but also a very good video content creator as well. And he's going to talk to us today about gear and equipment that is most beneficial to you when you are doing your live stream. So fire away, Tomas.
Okay, I guess the first thing is to have a setup that you can easily just hit record. You can easily stream with. Even if it's just on your phone, you can get some connectors where you can plug in audio into your phone. Even if it's just that, just make sure it's there. Have a designated place in your house where you can just record. Like I've done it before. I've hired studios. You take the equipment to the studio. It's a real pain. You spend all that time setting up. You're all tired. You're overthinking. And when you do your performance, it's not that good. So you want somewhere in your house you can just hit record or stream.
Sure. So you basically mean like set it up once so that it's like always frictionless. So when you have an idea, you can get to like execution immediately. You could just hit stream basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Even if it's your bedroom, even if it's the kitchen, just anywhere you've got a bit of space, just have it set up. People don't really care about backdrops that much. Well, I beg to differ actually. Everyone's raving about how bad Joe Rogan's backdrop is. But for music artists, it's about the music. You can get backdrops, like I've got some synths and stuff here. But make sure your backdrop is relevant to you. For example, I do a lot of piano music and synth music, so I've got electric piano and synths. If you do, if you're a singer, I don't know, have something that matches your personality. Have something that matches your music.
Cool. And in terms of like cameras and that sort of thing, like are there any particular recommendations that you have for people with regard to like what camera to use? Do I use the webcam? Do I get a new camera? What's your advice?
You want to start basic. You don't want to get like this camera is like a mirrorless camera that's going into a capture card. You can get that, but it's quite difficult to use. And even now, stuff goes wrong all the time with this kind of setup. You want something that's easy. You just want a USB webcam, Logitech C920 or something really simple, really easy to use. And then when you get used to that, then you can kind of step up your gear, when you get a bit more confident. But yeah, start simple. Same with microphones, same with any recording equipment. Don't spend loads of money and get the most fancy one, because the fancy ones are always the hardest to use. And you can get really overwhelmed, especially when you're streaming. If you're doing a video and it crashes, it doesn't matter too much. You can just hit record again. But if you're doing a live stream and it goes down, it's pretty embarrassing. So you just want a simple setup. That's my advice.
Right. So it's kind of the same old philosophy, right? It's like I think it was Casey Neistat who said like the best camera is the one you've got on you.
Yeah.
Because it's actually about the content and the idea, right? And whatever allows you to execute that quickly is probably the way to go. So that makes sense. What about audio? Like on the audio side of live streaming, like do you have any advice for someone like who's starting out doing that sort of thing?
Depends what you're doing. For example, if you're DJing, you can just take a feed out of the out of the mixer, and you can I think there's a Rode cable that allows you to plug directly into your phone, which is pretty cool. So you could just go out the mixer into your phone, then just stream on your phone. You can go into an audio interface. Same again, just keep it simple. Use gear that you're used to. If you've got a microphone, it really depends. Like the mic you've got there in front of you, Chris, that's a classic, Shure SM58. That one's great because if you drop it on the floor, it's probably not going to break, but it does require a lot of gain. So if you want to do it live, you want it to sound as good as you can live. So you might need some gear that gives you some more gain, or it depends. You kind of get what you pay for. Like right now, you see here, I'm using a shotgun microphone because I want the mic out shot. Or I've got alternative to the side. I've got this more like podcast style microphone. So it really depends on what I'm doing. So for certain videos like this where I want the background, I'll use a shotgun microphone. But if I'm doing more of a tutorial, I'll use the podcast microphone because it sounds a bit better when it's closer. So it's all about what exactly do you want it for.
That makes sense. I mean, and in terms of like production, because like, you know, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing right now from your side is obviously high production value, but You know, I've known you for a while, and I've seen you kind of like gradually get to this level with your gear. Is that generally the way to go? Like, or do you think people should just be high production value out the gate?
Definitely not. Definitely start off basic. Like, you've seen my videos a few years ago. The camera and audio quality is nowhere near as good as this. A lot of cameras cost a lot of money.
They do.
So do good microphones. So, and you might, maybe doing live streaming isn't for you. Maybe there's something else you might want to be doing. And do you really want to spend £2,000 on a camera and only use it once?
Right.
So what I recommend is get a cheap camera, get used to using it. When you realize this is the kind of thing for you enjoy doing it, then buy a more expensive one, then buy a more expensive one. It's like anything. Like, I wouldn't go and buy really expensive golf clubs because I probably suck at golf and I might not enjoy it. But if I'd been playing golf every day for 5 years and I really enjoyed it, then I'd go buy some expensive golf clubs. So yeah, don't splash all your money on a really expensive camera until you've done, I'd say, at least 100 videos, and you're used to it. You're confident in front of the camera, you enjoy it, and you know it's going to be something for you. Because like I said, camera gear is expensive, so are microphones. And yeah, unless you're multi-millionaire and you don't mind spending a few £1,000s on the camera you might only use once or twice, I don't recommend buying an expensive one straight away.
Cool. And in terms of like content of live streams, like what are some maybe examples of something you've seen or that you've done, things that like you might have seen someone do something recently? Is there any like cool things like that you think are pretty good to do?
There's Marcus, I think it's called Marcus Rebellion.
Okay.
And he interacts with the crowd, like the audience, and he makes funny ad-lib songs off what the audience say. So the audience might say, he'll ask them a question, tell me something, what did you do today? And they might say, I dropped my toast on the floor, and 10-second rule, I ate the toast really quick and there was a spider on the toast or something. And he'll make a song out of that funny little anecdote, and he'll jam and riff, and he'll have all these live, he'll use little loops and do it all live, and he'll riff and improvise this entire song out of just funny stuff that happens to his audience. That's great. A few reasons. One, it's completely improvised. Two, he's engaging with the audience. And three, he's really good at singing and playing the synth. So yeah, if you're going to do a live stream, I recommend engaging with the audience. Like for some of mine, I'll make music on the computer, and then I'll talk to the people on the chat as well. So they might say, try starting the bass on A or whatever, and I'll try that.
I've seen quite a few of these, like, you know, these kind of like interactive streams where like the audience is actually contributing to the content of the stream. An artist by the name of Jacob Collier has done a similar thing. I've talked about this before because it's a really cool concept, because he's like he's like the harmony guy, right? He does harmonies. And for his patrons, he was doing these I harm sessions where he would ask the audience to send in like little videos of them making their own melodies, and then he would bring them into Logic live in the session. He would bring them into Logic and then harmonize on top of them with his own voice. It was awesome. And then he would make a whole big, I mean, the Logic project was like hundreds of tracks or whatever, you know. It was pretty cool.
And if you're that fan, and this guy, I presume, is really good at harmonizing, if he harmonizes on your song, you'd feel really special. You feel like they care about you.
Definitely.
It's bringing a different element to your live stream. You're not just, look at me perform, look at me say this cool quote. You're actually like interacting with people and making them feel special, making them feel like a real fan.
So basically, like anything, like grow into it slowly but surely over time. Slowly invest into it, slowly practice it, be interactive with your content, and focus on the audience. Is there any other kind of tips that you would advise maybe an artist or producer who's trying to, you know, incorporate live streaming into the whole mix?
Yeah, you've got to learn OBS or Wirecast. Learn how to use the software as well for your live streams. Just the obvious stuff. Make sure you got fast internet, you know. Make sure your lighting's set up properly, all that kind of stuff.
That's a huge one, actually. Lighting, you know, it's actually quite an easy and cheap solution, cheap thing to fix in terms of like obviously there's like diminishing returns up to a point, like with everything, right? But at the beginning, one or two lamps or one ring light can make a huge difference on the quality of the content, right?
Like here, I've got 3 different lights. So I've got the key light, the fill light, and I've got kind of a hair light. The hair light up here is just the light in the room with a daylight light bulb. So it's a 4,500 Kelvin light. So it's just, you can just go on Amazon, type in daylight light bulb, right? So normally your light bulbs are a bit warmer, so it's nicer on the eyes, but you can get daylight light bulbs, and you can just use regular lamps. Just make sure you get the right type of light bulb. Because I'm using these LED lights here. This one's kind of cool because I can control it via the computer. So you can see here, I can turn on and off the light on the computer. But these ones are quite expensive. But yeah, if you're just starting off, get daylight light bulbs, and then you can get some LED lights. That one I just turned on and off, by the way, is a Elgato key light, if anyone wants to know what it is.
Great, cool. That's great. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, but lighting's really important. For example, where you are now, Chris, is fine because you're by a window. So if you don't have any video lights, or you don't want to spend any money on lights, just film next to a window during the day, and that's absolutely fine. Natural light can look nicer.
Cool. That's great. Thank you very much for all of those tips. Those are really, really useful, especially for anyone like who's just starting out with this live streaming thing. But again, I think, the way to kind of like summarize the whole thing is like, just go slow, go steady. Don't make huge investments at the beginning, because you know what it's like. People who will spend 20 grand on camera gear and then do nothing. Like you just don't want to do that. So yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And thank you for coming on and sharing those with us, Thomas.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers. Take care.